That is Michigan's formula that will get them to a spot where they can play Ohio State for a chance to go to the college football playoff. Washington, though, Washington's going to be frisky here down the stretch. Final score yesterday in Ann Arbor, Michigan 24, Washington 7, with Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson on the call. I thought this game actually is a lot more entertaining than what the final score indicated. Close one at half. I believe it might have been tied at half, and Michigan just sort of wore on Washington. But there's a lot to take away from both sides. Make sure you're subscribed if you're a Michigan fan or you're a Washington fan or you're a college football sicko, meaning you live and breathe this stuff every day of the year, not just during the college football season. This show is for you, so make sure you're subscribed. But I want to start with what I opened with at the top of the segment when it comes to Michigan. That formula they played with against Washington is that sweet spot for the offense. Because weapon-wise, I've said it many times, I think they are still getting to be in a spot where they're potent enough to maximize Bryce Underwood. I love McCauley. I love the tight ends, but I think like Michigan next year will have a lot more firepower on the perimeter to make the most of his right arm. Also, you think that Bryce Underwood will progress a little bit more. But when Michigan can control the line of scrimmage like that, when Jordan Marshall is toting the mail at a smooth 5 yards a carry on 25 carries, to average that with that many carries is impressive in itself. He got in rhythm. Justice Haynes wasn't playing, no problem. Jordan Marshall does his thing. When you control the line of scrimmage like that, it gives Michigan the allowance to be creative offensively. And so maybe personnel-wise, they don't have the guys to just churn and burn straight up with the best of them. But when you can be creative off of that run action, you can manufacture more explosives downfield. And that's the key for Michigan. Yes, they want to still be a punch-you-in-the-mouth football team. We saw that yesterday. Jordan Marshall was great. Bryce Underwood, I thought, was good when he ran the football as well. Love to see even more of that, quite frankly, from Bryce Underwood. It's maybe a me thing. But that's the key for Michigan. When they can manufacture explosives and they make you commit more resources to the box here, that's where they get really, really dangerous. Because at that point now, Michigan's going to be able to score with you, is my thought process. And score with you is a relative term. Score with you in terms of what they're asking you to do on the offensive side of the football against their defense. Because that's the thing with their defense now. Washington, we're going to talk about them in a second. They have some really freaking good players. Like Joel Klatt said it many times during the broadcast. Denzel Boston is maybe as good a receiver in the Big Ten as there is, up there with Jeremiah Smith and Mekhi Lemon. He's the real deal. Damon Williams, I don't have any reservations about him. That stat line that he had, I think, is even a little bit disingenuous to the kind of day that he had at the office. Jonah Coleman's great. But the Michigan defense, the way to beat them is a laundry list of items you got to check off to ultimately be successful and win that football game. A better way to say it is, I think that Michigan is so complex schematically and they are so up for the challenge physically, you have to be good enough at a ping-pong style of offense to not give the game away to them in the fourth quarter. Like Washington, again, first half, moving the football at a somewhat effective level, enough to finish the first half and have it tied up, and they had a couple of chunk plays with Boston and all that. Like they were taking their swings. But in the second half, Michigan, defensively, just too consistent and too complex to where Washington took their eye off the ball just really twice. The third interception was kind of it kind of palms up it a little bit if you're Damon Williams. The ball goes through Denzel Boston's hands, and Michigan intercepts the ball while lying on the ground. But a couple of those turnovers in the second half, the first two at least, were the backbreakers in the sense that like you just can't do that and spot Michigan with that offense, with how they're leaning on you, that kind of margin, and then have to climb back into the football game when you already have those turnovers. It's an impossible task for you. So to beat Michigan, you got to have stamina on the offensive side of the football. You have to be willing to take what they give you. A punt's not a bad play. Can't have a mental lapse at any point, which we saw from Damon Williams. You can't have those plays that ultimately put Michigan in position to be successful, and they end up beating you, and like that's the way that you live because your offense got a little bit, not even bored, but just lack of, focus is maybe the best way to put it. Or maybe you don't say that and you give all the credit to Michigan. I don't know how you want to slice that up, but that is the big thing with Michigan. You got to be able to be consistent for 4 quarters to beat them. Any lapse of judgment, any hands off the wheel, eyes off the road, like you end up getting beat. And that's kind of what happened when I look at Washington was yesterday. So I think you give a lot of credit, quite frankly, to Michigan because I don't think anything less of Washington really. And I don't want to do this whole good for Michigan, Washington, not bad for you, just good for Michigan. But like Washington's 5-2. And we're going to do this thing now for Washington across the college football public space where we say, yeah, well, they lost to the two, upper tier teams in the Big Ten, depending on what you think about Michigan right now. If they lost to Ohio State at home, we're going to kind of just dismiss them in the college football world for a couple of weeks because people are going to say, okay, well, they're not going to be a playoff team. Let's look at the teams in the Big Ten that can be playoff teams. Oregon, maybe Michigan is in that discussion now. Ohio State, Indiana, obviously. Nebraska just had a tough loss. Maybe they're in that discussion still. Washington, with what they have left on the schedule and who their personnel is, they are scrappy, they are frisky, they are good enough to win matchup football games and find themselves in the college football playoff. Illinois, at Wisconsin, Purdue, at UCLA, and you finish with Oregon in Seattle, a place that Washington has played very well at for the duration of the last couple of years. Ohio State game excluded. They had one of the longest home winning streaks in college football. I would not be shocked at all if we see Washington welcome Oregon to their place, sitting there with a 2-loss resume, and if they beat Oregon, they're going to the college football playoff. I would not be surprised at all if that happens. So we're going to dismiss them now across the college football public and say, oh, well, they lost to Michigan, the turnovers, whatever, they fell off the wagon. Yeah, say what you want, but I guarantee you Washington will be a talking point for a lot of us here into the month of November because I think they're going to beat Illinois. I know they'll beat Wisconsin. Feel pretty confident they'll beat Purdue. And then at UCLA looks more interesting here as of late. But that game against Oregon, I really do have circled as a potential playoff ticket puncher for the Huskies. And I don't feel different about that just because they had a couple of lapse of judgment moments, a couple of tough turnovers against a really good defense in Michigan, and weren't able to stop the run against Michigan. So let me know your thoughts on this one if you're a Michigan or a Washington fan. Big Ten's awesome this year, dude. Big Ten's absolutely awesome. For Cato on the ones and twos, for myself, JD PicKell, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We will keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.